Hello and welcome to another episode of Chatting Films with Coffee with me, Simon, and as ever, I am joined by my good friend and co-host Mike Elkins. How are you, mate?
Very good. Yeah, very good. It's nice to be back.
It
We've got
is, yeah.
a packed show.
It is, yeah, it's jam-packed. Apologies for not recording last week. It was a little bit mad. Schedules were all over the place, but we are back with a great show.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, what you were doing last week has enabled us to have really good content this week. So
That's true. Yeah, that is true. We're going to kick off basically chatting about First Man. We're not going to be reviewing it because I think it's embargoed until the next, until the week after this.
okay.
But yeah, last week I did my first ever junket.
I was going to say this was your first junket,
Yeah, it was
and how was that?
amazing. Actually, I really enjoyed it. It's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Junkets, for people who aren't particularly clued up, but basically, you get those videos that you see online with someone asking questions to someone who was in a particular film. It's always got the poster in the background and the name of the film. So it's basically a one-to-one chat with someone who's in a film. I spoke to Olivia Hamilton from First Man, the new Damien Chazelle, Ryan Gosling, Claire Foy film.
Yep.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I messed up to begin with. It was at the Corinthia Hotel. Have you ever been to the Corinthia Hotel?
I haven't. Where I'm assuming that's London somewhere.
It is, yeah. So it's basically it's kind of opposite South Bank. So you go across Waterloo Bridge, and then there's
Okay.
this big hotel.
Yep.
5-star hotel. You walk in. Well, if you're me, you walk into the restaurant.
Of course.
So that was the first mistake. there's next time you're up, I'm going to show you. But there's a lot of entrances to the Corinthia Hotel.
Okay. Would not main reception be the one?
Well, you'd think the ones with the big doors would be the ones to go to, but I kind of missed them.
Yeah.
Went to one slightly left towards them and basically opened the door to the restaurant. Realised it wasn't the restaurant. Realised this wasn't where it should be. Walked back out, went into the big doors, and there was no one greeting you, which I thought was a bit strange for a 5-star hotel.
Yes.
Not that I've ever stayed in one.
But no, you would expect to see the individual on the front with the hat on.
Yeah.
Kind of stopping taxis and carrying bags.
Exactly. So again, maybe I went in the back way. I'm very confused.
Went in the servants' entrance.
Well, picture this, Mike. You walk in through these huge doors, rotating doors, and there's a pianist playing for no particular reason.
Okay.
So immediately, as soon as you get there, you think, well, I should not be in here.
I don't belong. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I did not belong there. It was quite clear. Ended up in the restaurant. Managed to get myself.
Did they ask if you had a reservation? That would have
Certainly
been
not. Fun. My hair was particularly bouncy that day as well, so I must have looked like.
They're letting homeless people in now.
Yeah, and I was carrying a brown bag filled with drink.
Paper bag?
I basically managed to get myself up to the first floor, which is where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And it was room 120 something. And if anyone's seen the film Notting Hill, which I guess a lot of our listeners have, you know the scene where Hugh Grant pretends to be from Horse and Hound?
Yes.
It's basically like that, really.
Well, oddly, when you said my first junket, that is the sequence that immediately came into my head.
Yeah. Well, until I did it, I was like, this is actually a very funny scene. It can't be like that. And it turns out it is.
Okay.
You basically get shepherded into these rooms. I'm not slagging it off at all, by the way. I absolutely love doing it. It was just something I've never done before. And yeah, you basically get shepherded off into these press meeting rooms where you basically wait to be called. Yeah, looked after really well.
Food?
No food, but as much drink as you can imagine. We're talking Coke, Diet Coke, sparkling water, still water, tea, a variety of teas, coffee, filtered coffee. It was incredible.
You go nuts on mint tea and water.
Yeah. And then top yourself up with a filter.
Yeah.
So, what recipe are we using, guys? Let's crack on.
Yeah, it's a single origin.
Yeah, so you're basically just waiting when you get called. And so it's quite an intense environment to be in. And you then get called from there into this corridor of the Corinthia Hotel, which seems to go on for miles. It's like The Shining. And so you're just in this very well decorated corridor with posters of the film everywhere, and you're sitting outside. And you get called in, and you get called into this very, very dark room with lights and posters of the film. And then the person you're interviewing is sat there. And because it's all on quite a tight schedule, you basically get like sat down. And I thought what would happen would be like, okay, so you get a moment to compose yourself, and they'll be attaching mics to you, and they'll be double checking the lighting. Nope, none of that happens. You literally sit down and we go, okay, whenever you're ready. So, okay. I need to get
straight in.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Just,
did you tell her that this was your first ever junket?
Yeah, I did. I think there's footage of me actually saying, I'm very sorry, I'm very nervous. This is my first one.
That's nice. You were honest and upfront. Did she respond to that, or did she just kind of just giggle like,
it was a... Well, I'll show you the footage, but it was a nice giggle, and then she did also say at the end that, like, considering it was my first time, I did very, very good job. So it was very
patronising
nice.
Then.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, looking around at a publicist, thinking, "What the hell is going on?"
I think that sounds quite terrifying to an extent.
Well, you just sort of get on with it. It's just like, okay, so, I mean, I won't lie, I really did think someone was going to, like, attach a microphone to you, and then at least give you some sort of, like, okay, guys, so you're going to be talking to Olivia, obviously. None of that. Literally, as soon as you sit down, yeah, fire away. But it was just awkward, mate. It was so embarrassing. I had to rifle through my bag to pick out these cards. You've got Olivia Hamilton waiting there. We've never met before. She has no idea what I'm like.
I'm not surprised you've not met her before, mate, to be honest.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, it was, I've got to be honest, it was absolutely brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved doing it. It was just something to get used to. And I really, hopefully we'll get another one.
Well, that's it. Next time you know exactly how it's going to work, and you just kind of stroll in like a pro. Obviously, exactly. So did they told you before that you were meeting Olivia Hamilton, or was it just potluck?
No. So I've been prepped probably about 2 weeks before saying I was going to meet Olivia Hamilton, which is really nice because, like, on red carpets is very much you're probably going to get talking to this person, but just a heads up. Yeah, may only be one question. So it's, you never really know who you're going to speak to on red carpets. But this was like a couple of weeks in advance. And you sort of have a lot of time to prepare some questions. And then you see the film like 2-3 days beforehand. Yeah. So you can kind of tailor it. And it was so enjoyable.
I'd find it really difficult because obviously she's lately been in some big things. So La La Land. And Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. She's in that as well. And I would find it really hard just not to sneak in a question about something else. But obviously it's all got to be about that one film. But
yeah, I mean, I won't lie. I was planning on just saying, and very quickly, I'm seeing Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot next week. Can you tell me a little bit about your character? But there is no time. No. You literally, when you're asking the questions and you think, okay, this is great. We're having a really nice chat. This is a good interview. And then something like appears in your peripheral vision, and it's a publicist saying, right, you got 2 minutes left. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you're just there with a stopwatch.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
And again,
because like if you were there and you say, okay, cool, you have 5 minutes with Tom Hanks, I couldn't help myself. I'd want a Gump question in there. I'd want at least 2 Saving Private Ryan questions in there, and it wouldn't bother me if I never got invited back to one of those events if I managed to get those questions in.
Yeah.
But I think just I think I'd be terrible in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think like there probably comes a point where the publicist steps in and says, "Can we actually ask questions about this film?"
Yeah.
I think the odd one wouldn't have been an issue. I genuinely, it was like the best experience, and I love doing it. I feel very, very like grateful to be able to do it. And it's something, I think it's something that the more you do, the more you get used to. Like on the first red carpet I did, I was shit. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And it's just something you get used to.
Yeah. Of course. Oh, that's really cool. That sounds very exciting.
It was very exciting. It was also very nerve wracking. And I have to say, Olivia Hamilton is so nice. Especially when I messed up her name. So that was good.
What did you call her?
Well, I got the name right. I just stumbled over it. So I kind of just went, Olivia Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was all the nerves.
Hi, yeah, I'm really nervous. I can't speak at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
no, that sounds really cool. I think that sounds really cool. Well, we look forward to you getting an invite to another one.
Yeah, I hope so. Honestly, if I could do more of those, I think I'd be very, very happy because they're so interesting, and you get to basically spend one-on-one time with someone whose work you admire. So it was really, really interesting. And graciously, I basically said at the end, like, I'm really sorry, can we do the introduction again? Because I messed up your name. And she was like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And she was very, very nice.
Yeah, that's cool. But I guess as well, the more you do, you'll become equally as hardline with the time. So it's like, cool, I've got an answer for this question, on to the next one. And you will become as kind of rigid as they would be. Because I guess you've got to get the most out of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I guess thank you to the guys who sorted it out. Thank you so much to Olivia Hamilton for basically humoring me for 5 minutes. And yeah, we'll be able to put the video out next week. So yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to see it. Hopefully,
it's a film's briefly is Neil Armstrong, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. First Man is out next week, and it's a film about Neil Armstrong and his mission to get to the moon, and his team's mission to get to the moon, and the family life, and it's a really, really
interesting premise. I think really, really interesting premise.
Yeah,
and I love those films that kind of go into huge historical moments. Whether they're accurate or not, I don't think it really matters. It just kind of takes you into a moment that, well, you know about, but you don't really, you kind of don't know the nitty gritty.
Exactly. Yeah, that was actually one of the things that Olivia said. It was basically just she found that it wasn't just a story about getting Neil to the moon. It was a film that was basically telling like the internal struggle between like a potential failing marriage, the relationship he had with his colleagues and fellow astronauts, and also the impact it had on his life over a 10-year period. Like it wasn't as simple as, okay, yeah, well, send someone to the moon. It was like people died trying to get there. Like internal explosions happened and killed like members of his crew, and it was really fascinating to watch. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I look forward to it, and I guess we will talk about it more when we can review it, and then I'll go and give it a view. That sounds really good.
Really cool. So yeah, that was my week. It was a little bit mad, so apologies for not recording last week. But yeah, we haven't actually done our chat about coffee yet, Mike. What are you up to?
We haven't. Well, so I was meant to be visiting a roaster yesterday. But unfortunately, due to an arrival of specialty tea, he was snowed under, so we had to postpone, which was a shame. But that trip will come. I'm currently, what am I drinking now? I'm back on the Dominican beans.
Oh, the ones from the honeymoon.
Yeah, just the bog standard, high quality, everyday coffee that they seem to drink over there.
I couldn't have that every day.
No.
No, it's pretty strong.
He's quite strong. He is quite strong, but I've had a long day at work. I need it to get me through the evening. But very, very tasty. No complaints. And I found myself the other day when I was on a stag weekend, as you well know, up in London.
I bumped into Mike on Sunday, with Beth actually, and we went for a coffee, and you looked fairly worse for wear. Like even Beth noticed. She was like, "You can tell you was hungover."
I didn't feel very good, which is why it was only a very brief meeting. But, yeah, so I was on the train, and it's kind of got me thinking about blends. Mm-hmm. And what would be kind of the perfect blend of beans for your espresso? And what for you? But like, what sort of flavor profiling would what appeals to you when you look at a coffee and kind of read what's in it? Because obviously, when we in Lantana, you showed me a single origin that was used for both filter and for espresso.
Yeah,
which I'm not sure works myself.
Well, I think single origin as an espresso can basically get a little bit lost when it comes to flavor profile, especially when you're blending it with milk. So it's interesting that some beans work better as a black coffee, whether that's a filter or a long black. So if you've got the ability and if you've got the, I guess the know-how to turn that single origin bean into something you still serve, I guess a bit like a blend, then it can work. I think that one, tasting notes of chocolate,
chocolate walnuts or hazelnuts and muscovado sugar.
That's the one, yeah.
Which should work both ways. You know, it's quite deep flavors, but it's just not something you see that often. Which got me thinking. You know, what would I have? Like if I was to make a blend, because I only roast with a popcorn popper, so my ability to create blends is slightly limited in terms of it could take a hell of a long time, but it's definitely something that I want to kind of explore.
Imagine if you just source 2 or 3 beans and you come up with just this gold. You come up with like...
Well, that's the plan. That's the idea. Within the next 6 months, I'm going to create the greatest blend on the planet. But I think for me, it has to be something with it has to be very sweet. Mm-hmm. I think to make a really good espresso, sweet with like caramel is a winner all day long. Maybe some sort of orange, some sort of citrus flavor. That I think would work really nicely with an espresso. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. It's going to sound weird, but I always think to myself, what would you like to taste in a cake, and what would you like to taste in chocolate? Yeah, because effectively, if a blend is made up predominantly with a grounding taste, with a grounding origin of Brazil or Colombia, it's going to have a grounded chocolate profile, which naturally you can then basically sprinkle around with beans from Ethiopia, which will give a particularly fruity.
Yeah, slightly more acidic, and you need that little bit of acidity in there, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think it's that kind of if you're adding milk to a hot drink, it's that kind of comforting, kind of really pleasurable experience. Whereas for me, a filter, which is what I predominantly drink, is it's all about a flavor and strength.
Yeah,
that's kind of it. So I'm not maybe looking for a hugely complex amount of flavors in my lattes, for example, but I want to be able to taste it, not just this is warm milk and coffee.
That's where the additional the single origin beans really come into play, because if it's basically a Colombian and a Brazilian, you're basically going to be getting relative same notes. Whereas if you can chuck something else in there just to give it that little bit extra, when it's like, okay, yes, I tasted that
spike of citrus or something, then which just hangs about at the end of that's it.
Because interestingly, the coffee we got on Sunday, I could really only taste sort of licorice and a seedy sort of.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. It wasn't, and I would have been intrigued to have tried one of their filters, but it was nice, but it wasn't. Wow, this is really flavoursome. It was, like you say, quite one-dimensional.
Yeah, good description. But I kind of think when it comes to what I look for an espresso, like in a blend, It's got to have a grounding chocolatey base note essentially, and then play around with something citrusy or something nutty. Obviously, chocolate and nut goes together so well. So when you add milk, laughing.
Those two are a must for me. Those two, maybe something that's slightly oaty with a little bit of citrus, then just to clean the palate off a little bit, because so much dairy kind of flavors can leave a bit of a thick kind of mouthfeel. So if you've got a bit of citrus in there, just to kind of break it up. But yeah, I saw a bean the other day which was described as having a dolce de leche,
delightful,
which just that sounds good, because I could eat tubs of that and have. if you could serve me up a flat white that had the predominant kind of flavorings of that, all day long. I've listed where I can find the beans, so I'm going to get them in, and I'm going to try a blend.
That's fantastic, mate. I'm so excited.
Could take a while, but
that would be fine. Yeah,
so that's my big coffee thinking of the last week.
Yeah,
is planning on doing a blend. Single origin is maybe where I belong, but every good roaster needs a signature blend, so why not?
You're going to be producing the best coffee in Sussex if this works.
Yeah, in my own kitchen out of a popcorn popper. It's going to be like super small batch.
Yeah, but
I'll produce one bag a month, but it'll sell for like £200.
It's premium.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, Mike. I'm letting the team down today. I'm not actually drinking coffee. I'm having a beer.
I did question when I saw you crack open a bottle of, or a can of. So originally I thought he's got some sort of cold press, but apparently no.
No. So
you're drinking alcohol.
Yeah, basically, I didn't sleep very well last night. We had two foxes going at it outside our room, outside our window, not the room.
I was going to say, what, they're on your landing. And that is very noisy for anybody who's heard two foxes going at it. It's quite unpleasant.
It really is. If for anyone who hasn't heard it, you don't want to hear it. It's a pretty horrific noise, and it will terrify you when you wake up.
I'm just really pleased I'm not a female fox.
You know what? Yeah, me too. Because I've heard a rumor that foxes have like spikes, like male foxes.
That's the one. I believe that is the root cause of the noise. I think if anybody wants to find out more, maybe they should Google it. But
yeah, probably do it in private browsing. You don't want to be caught.
You don't want to be seen with that sort of stuff on your phone or laptop.
So yeah, I basically, because there was some foxes going at it last night, I didn't sleep very well. I've already had 4 coffees today, and so I thought I'm going to counter that with some beer.
Straight in with the lager. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chatting Films with Beer. This is going to be our next one. So, as of next week, I will be back on the coffee.
Good.
But thank you very much for your update on the coffee thing. I can't wait to hear where we go from here. Next week is going to be a big one, I feel.
Yeah.
Right, so moving on to films.
Yes.
We have 2 reviews for you this week, guys. So we're going to basically smash them because there's a lot to get through. 2 films out this week. There's plenty of films out this week, but I'm reviewing 2 of them. Johnny English Strikes Again, and later on I will be chatting to you about Venom. But we're going to kick off with Johnny English Strikes Again. Rowan Atkinson returns for a 3rd outing as the hapless British spy. The film starts with English out of action and currently teaching geography to the next generation of British spies, trading in the suave suits for the more appropriate stuffy boarding school teacher attire. When a cyber attack reveals the details of all the currently active MI7 spies, English returns to action in a bid to stop the continued cyber attacks. Now, I know it's a multi-layered, intricate plot, but are you following, Mike?
Yeah, sorry, you went a little bit juddery then. But I guess I've kind of got the gist.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say a great amount for Johnny English that my synopsis of the film cut out. yet you still got the general plot. Yeah, that's it, basically.
I'm not sure it's going to win any Oscars.
You've read my mind. I've actually written, I'll break it to you gently, Johnny English Strikes Again won't be winning any awards. But having said that, it is getting slated by a few critics, and I actually think that's a bit unfair.
I thought it was brave to bring back Johnny English for a second effort.
Yeah.
And that was poor. To go for a third, barrel scraping sort of springs to mind a little.
It is, yeah.
I like Rowan Atkinson. He's a bit of an institution, but I don't know.
Honestly, there are some genuinely funny scenes. There's a great VR sequence that introduces Johnny English to the digital age of espionage, which is very funny. And earlier on in the film, in typical Johnny English fashion, he essentially wipes out 3 of the remaining elderly spies, including Michael Gambon and Charles Dance. So that's sort of ilk, shall we say, and he accidentally wipes them out, which is funny. So it's got some very good sequences for Johnny English, and it did make me laugh. There's a good 3 or 4 sequences during the film which did make me laugh, and pretty much all of that is down to Atkinson, because, like you said, he's an institution, and he is so
as you
good.
Would expect. Yeah,
he's so good at playing this role. Like, it's such a good take on the smart, sexy, sophisticated spy. I love watching him do it. But I think, like you said, when you're 3 films on and you're still playing this particular joke, you need a little bit more. I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting Inception, that sort of level of plot, but I do think something a little bit more than just relying on the same joke.
Yeah. I suppose it's thinking about actually, who is this film really aimed at?
Yeah, honestly, I think it could have gone further. I think they're aiming it towards the new generation of Johnny English. Was released in 2003, so 15 years on.
Yeah.
So I would have been 11 when it first came out, and I loved it. So it's clearly being aimed at that sort of age demographic again.
Yeah.
But I think they could have done something a little bit clever, and I think they could have pushed it a little bit further and made it a 15, because there's so much more you could get out of it.
But you think spy thriller in it should have a little bit of darkness to it. It should have a little bit of, even if it is a comedy, there should be a little bit of something just to appeal to the slightly older generations. But
yeah.
So do you think so? If people who love the first Johnny English, they're going to enjoy this, even though they're older?
Can only judge it on how I felt about it. I personally love watching Rowan Atkinson play Johnny English because, like I said earlier, he's got it down to a T, and he just gets it, and he's so good at playing it. And also, I have the benefit of really enjoying the first one when I saw it when I was 11. Someone who would be a good person to talk to about this would be Beth, because she hasn't seen Johnny English, but she saw it on Sunday, and she thought like parts of it were really funny, but she also thought that it falls flat. So, I mean, personally, I could watch Rowan Atkinson do it, but I think I might be in the minority there. I think maybe because it's aimed slightly younger audience, there are a few gags that fall flat.
Yeah.
Like there's a theme throughout the film where they're basically they're toing and froing between English's old school vintage espionage tricks and the modern day espionage, which is obviously where the VR sequence comes in. And that really doesn't work. That theme is sort of introduced and they stick with it throughout the thing. And there's the old gag here, like, oh, I don't need a mobile phone. And it's just, that sort of thing isn't funny. So
basically there was potential, but it's not progressed on from kind of what it was, which was funny the first time round. And so really it does rely on Rowan Atkinson
absolutely. Like, honestly, if Atkinson wasn't Johnny English in the first one, it would never have got past the first installment. I think this is the time to just let it lie now. Say that like Johnny English was fun while it lasted, and I really think that's all you can really expect of a Johnny English film is good fun, not to take it too seriously, and not to really over critique it, which I feel like it has been. There's it's obviously a fairly simple and poor plot, but the comedy is certainly there. It's not like the comedy's gone away. I'm giving it 3 out of 5, which I think
is very acceptable.
I think
for what it is.
Well, having looked at some of the other reviews, I've been overly generous, but there were parts of it I really enjoyed. It's just how far can you push that same joke, really? Like this is a third installment of the franchise. The joke's already been done, but if it wasn't for Rowan Atkinson, it would have been done a long time ago. So yeah, 3 out of 5. Yeah, I would recommend going to see it. If you saw the first one and you liked it, if you saw the second one you didn't like it, this is probably going to be right there in the middle.
Okay, so better than, because the second one was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Don't want to say too much about it because I've interviewed the director and he was really nice. But so yeah, Johnny English strikes again. That is out now. If you've got nothing to do this weekend, if you just want to see a film that's going to make you laugh, yeah, go see it. Venom.
Yes.
Now, on the first ever episode, we spoke about how we're excited to see this film.
Yes.
Are you still excited?
Yes, to an extent. Sci-fi is not something that I run to the cinema to watch.
Mm-hmm. Nor superhero movies for either of us.
No. So in that sense, it's a no-go for me. But Tom Hardy makes it something that I would want to go and see.
Yeah, definitely. My excitement from Venom has been purely based around the cast. I love Riz Ahmed. I love Michelle Williams, and Tom Hardy playing a supervillain is something I've been excited for about 8 months.
Yeah, I hope he does it with like a Cray twin accent as well.
Sadly not. He's Eddie Brock, investigative journalist.
So, I hope he doesn't sound like that.
A little bit better than that. So yeah, he's gone American. He's very good in it. I'm going to struggle with Venom because I'm going to say right from the out that I'm not obsessed with the MCU. I don't take it seriously. I think there's been far too many superhero movies that have been released over the last 8 years. And I actually think in 10 years' time, when we review this podcast, we'll be thinking, Christ, 2010 to 2018, there was a superhero movie released every 4 to 6 months.
Well, we said something similar, didn't we, when we were talking about the kind of the comedy films in the late sort of noughties, that this is kind of
what's replaced them.
That's it. And I've never had a great deal of appetite for it.
Me neither.
And it's I'm not going to call it a fad because it's something more than that. Maybe a fashion that I'm not going to be upset when it's gone. Yeah,
me neither. And so I do feel like I may not be the best person to be reviewing Venom, but having said that, I do know enough about films to have a vague understanding about what I expect from a supervillain / superhero movie.
Sure.
So if you're a fan of the MCU and if you're a fan of Marvel, then do bear with me. You can at me. I really don't care. But Venom, Tom Hardy stars as investigative journalist Eddie Brock as Sony's supervillain Venom. When Brock is tasked with interviewing Carlton Drake, owner of the mysterious and incredibly dodgy Life Foundation, Brock is keen to expose the truth about Drake's methods in using and killing humans in his scientific experiments. After using confidential information from his long-term girlfriend, Anne Weying, played by Michelle Williams, Brock intends to take down Drake and the Life Foundation, but instead hits rock bottom as he goes against his employer's wishes. 6 months later, drifting his way through San Francisco, Brock is asked by one of Drake's workers, Dr. Scurf, to investigate Drake's plans once more, and Brock eventually comes face to face with the alien symbiote Venom that has been killing humans and making its way through Asia and now into the States. So there's the synopsis. I said I don't know a huge much about the MCU. I haven't bought into it. But from what I understand, Venom is owned by Sony and associated with Marvel, but unconnected to the Marvel universe. So to me, and I might be doing this a disservice and I might be completely wrong, to me, that says Sony now have a film that won't be able to compete with the Marvel universe or even to be able to appear in the MCU, which to me asks the question, what's the point in making this film?
Money.
True, but that hangs over me. Like, you're watching that, like, it's fun to watch. You're watching it, you're just saying, I have no idea where this film...
Where does it fit in?
Where it fits, exactly. And I think what the idea was that Sony, this film was supposed to kickstart the Sony universe, which it alludes to later on in the post-credit scenes. There's some characters who get introduced. So I think that's where it fits. This is where it is supposed to sit within the Marvel Sony chaos.
See, I mean, all of that is beyond me.
Me too.
Like it really, like the various sort of the crossovers and this, that I in the nicest possible way, I really couldn't care. I just want to, if it's a good film, I want it to be a good film. And I want to appreciate it. I don't necessarily. I talk to people a lot, and they get so excited about kind of the whole Batman versus Superman, all that kind of stuff. And you're watching a film about one superhero, and then there's a supervillain from the same series, but from a completely different thing crops up. I mean, I know nothing about this kind of stuff. I'm just like, wow, does it really matter that much? But I think to a lot of people at the moment, it does.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you'd have said that about Harry Potter 10 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, of course it matters.
I would have been, the same.
Yeah. So, it does, like, I completely see your point, but I can also completely see why people do.
Talking of, like, you try and sell me a Harry Potter Lord of the Rings crossover, gold.
We're talking business.
Pure gold.
So, yeah, I won't lie. That kind of thing, wondering where it fits, was sitting on me for pretty much the whole of the movie. And I was hoping that it would kind of, like, be shaken off. But to me, it says that, like, Sony are kicking off their universe with a character who isn't good enough to be in the MCU or isn't that strong a character to really be fascinated about anyway. I mean, in the Tobey Maguire movies, it took 3 of them to get to Venom. So it's...
So you are an afterthought.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Having said that, there are some very enjoyable elements to the film. It's fast-paced, and the opening half an hour is really good. It builds the tension around the symbiotes, introduces the relationship between Eddie and Anne, and you get to see Hardy as an eccentric, straight-talking, and just a general fun-to-be around type of fella. But to me, it really doesn't know whether it wants to be a comedy, an action movie, or an edgy superhero movie. And it basically ends up being a bland combination of all 3. But there are some genuinely funny scenes, something which I think we should come to expect with Ruben Fleischer directing. Especially when Brock and Venom are working together, Hardy gives a good comedic performance for the most part. And although there are plenty of lines that will make you laugh, the film is in danger on relying on slightly too many half-hearted gags, which also sees Hardy occasionally failing to deliver them.
Okay, which surprised, because he does play that role quite well.
That sort of cheeky...
Like Peaky Blinders, I find his character very hard to read. Like, is he a comic character? Is he just nuts? Is he, he does tend to... And the same in Legend.
Hardy's comedic performance in this has really divided people. Some people think he's great in it. Some people think it's overdone. I kind of sit in the middle and think that there's parts of it where he's really, really funny and really good, but there are parts where it's almost slightly too overdone. But Hardy's always had comedy in his performances.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was interested to see that his performance has been not particularly well received in terms of the comedy. But I really enjoyed his performance. If although some parts of which were slightly overdone. Another strong performance in the film is Riz Ahmed and his portrayal of Carlton Drake. He's both calm and menacing at the same time, intent on completing his work to give aliens appropriate human hosts to take over the world. He's very good in it. I would have liked to have seen a bit more from Michelle Williams, because when she's on screen, she's fantastic. She's an incredible actress. But this won't shock you, Mike. She is a victim of playing a hugely underdeveloped role and essentially becomes Brock's girlfriend instead of an actual character. Which is so disappointing because she's so great. I think with a better script, she could have had a much, much bigger role in the film. I'm kind of struggling with Venom. It is let down by an underdeveloped and fairly unimaginative script, and it's really evident in the final fight scene because it's loud, it's messy, it's heavily reliant on CGI.
That's what I was going to say. Does it rely too much on the effects?
Oh God, yeah, it's mad. Like,
but then is that what people want to see with this sort of film?
Well, I don't know, because to be fair, in the Marvel films, CGI is used, but there's a lot more going on than just CGI, especially in the fights. But considering this is a final showdown, it's really, really poor. It's not great. It's not great. So I'd say the highlights are Hardy's performance and the relationship he has between Brock and Venom. And if you're going there to watch the action, then I think you will enjoy a lot of the film. But to me, Venom just sort of struggles to answer what is this film supposed to be. I'm giving Venom 3 out of 5 stars, which puts it on par with Johnny English, which I wasn't expecting. When I saw the first trailer for Venom, I was like, okay, this is going to be great.
And it's up there with Johnny English 3, which I never thought we'd ever be reviewing anyway.
No. It's been a busy week. I mean, I had high hopes for Venom. And then weirdly, the closer you got towards the release date, more and more people were just saying this is not going to be good. And some people actively hate it. Other people are saying just enjoy it for what it is. I'd say if you're looking to, again, not take a film too seriously and just enjoy some fast-paced action and see Tom Hardy, I think giving a very good performance, then I would recommend going to see Venom this week.
Yes.
On the topic of superheroes, Mike, and supervillains, I have a question for you. To round off this podcast, who is your ultimate supervillain?
Good question. Because from somebody who doesn't watch a great deal of superhero films, my knowledge of supervillains from that world is very limited. I would say that's Voldemort.
Sticking with Voldemort.
Yeah.
I quizzed Mike about this earlier on, and the first thing he said was, yeah, probably Voldemort.
Well, I mean, you kind of look at it, and he is actively pursuing genocide.
Yeah, he
kills kids. He's happy to kill school kids.
Well, he's pursuing genocide whilst actively focusing on a specky lad. It's really...
Yeah. I mean, basically, he's got the arse because he couldn't kill a baby. And it's kind of from that, it's just... The guy has split his soul into, 7 bits? That's pretty deep. He uses people throughout the books or films as basically kind of vessels to either carry him about. Is it Wormtail? Cuts off his own hand to kind of give him human form. So he's got some crazy followers, which, you look at history, some of the worst people. There's one guy I'm thinking about who, he had some crazy followers and he was pretty keen on genocide.
Yeah.
If you were to say, give me Voldemort on one hand and I don't know, the Joker on the other, I'd take the Joker all day long. I'd sooner have a scrap with him than than Voldemort.
Yeah, the greatest wizard of all time. You make a very compelling argument. It's difficult to argue with that.
I can't look beyond somebody who wants to commit murder on an enormous scale.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the scale is imaginary, but yes, you are right.
Either way, but we're not talking. I mean, non-fiction. I mean, if we were, that's a whole different debate. But the guy blew up a school and attacked a school full of kids.
Yeah,
that puts you halfway up the ladder in terms of just pure evil.
Thank you for putting forward your pitch for Voldemort as the ultimate supervillain. I'm going to go slightly more realistic and choose Landa from Inglourious Bastards.
Okay.
I remember seeing that for the first time and just being blown away by Christoph Waltz.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite. He is one of my favorite actors.
He is just incredible in it.
He's probably in my top 5 male actors, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
He's also a great Bond villain, but that is a story for another day.
Yeah.
I was watching this documentary about Michael Fassbender saying when he auditioned for Inglourious Bastards, they wanted to see him for Landa. And he basically went to the audition with Tarantino thinking he was reading for the role of Landa. And Tarantino was like, no, we've cast him. He was like, oh, really? But I think I could do it. He's like, no, we've cast him. Like,
yeah. I think for me, him in that film, I actually like him. He's evil. But I like him.
You can't take your eyes off him.
No. And I couldn't quite put my finger on what I like about him, whether it's the way he just delivers his lines, the detail, like in the sequence where he drinks the milk in the house. Yeah. That whole sequence is incredible.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly special about it, but just the way he's moving, the way he kind of meticulously, because he lights a cigarette, I think, then he has the milk and everything else. It's that kind of, he's not playing a character, he is the character.
Yeah. It's beautifully choreographed, isn't it? His whole performance is, it's almost like he brings to the screen a stage character. Does that make sense? Like, it's phenomenal acting, and easy to forget that he was played a really, really horrible piece of work.
Horrendous character. Yeah.
And those people did exist. So
yes.
That to me is my ultimate supervillain.
I can completely understand that.
Yeah. So that was I guess that was this week's episode, guys. I think we're done.
It's been great.
It has been. It's been full of content. Thank you for listening. Next week, I imagine we'll be back again. I don't think we've got anything on.
No. So we can come back and talk about films. Like, we've not even talked about films that are 10 years old.
Yeah, I know. Imagine a show where we do not talk about films that are 10 years old.
That's it. I mean, not that that's a filler at all. Anyway.
Your words.
I enjoy it. But if we're doing it next week, I need notice, because I'm going to have to really look down that list to see what there is to talk about.
Well, fun fact for the listeners of this podcast, we actually recorded one about Twilight about 2 weeks ago, but the episode was so long. It didn't make the cut.
Didn't make the cut.
So we got that in the locker.
Yeah, that can stay locked away.
So thank you very much for listening, guys. We'll be back with you next week. And thanks for listening. See you next week.
It's been a pleasure.
As always, Mike, thank you very much.
Pleasure, mate. See you later.
Bye. Bye.